Well, here are the last three problems of the test. They're all word problems, but they're all done the same way. So they're going to ask us to write equations. So we're writing an equation of a line in slope-intercept form that passes through the point, and it gives us a slope. So all we have to do is go right to the point-slope formula. Remember, it goes y minus y1 equals the slope, which is m, times by x minus x1. So we go ahead and take the values that were given. Now remember, here the slope is negative 1/3. So we're going to take that negative 1/3, and it's going to go all the way over to the m value. And then we're going to end up taking that point, and remember the x value is going to go in place of x1. So again, that goes all the way over here. And we're going to take this y value, this 8, and that one goes all the way over to almost the first position in the equation. So let's go ahead and do that substitution and see what's left over. We've got y minus 8 equals the slope. Now the slope is negative 1/3, and we're multiplying that by x minus negative 3. So once we've done that, whenever we have a minus negative, always change that to plus positive and then use that distributive property. So let's go ahead and see what's left over once we do that. We still have this y minus 8, but now it equals negative 1/3 x. And then off to the side, if you're unsure what negative 1/3 times by 3 is, write it out off to the side and write 3 as a fraction to see what's left over when you cross cancel. So 3 goes into the 3 one time. So we can multiply those two numbers and get negative 1. Well, one last step here, and that's just to isolate the y, and we'll do that by adding 8 to both sides. So when I add 8 to the negative 1, they're opposite sign, so I'm going to end up subtracting those two numbers. So when I go ahead and rewrite it, I've got y equals, and I've got that negative 1/3 x, and it's a plus 7. Plus 7 because negative 1 plus 8, again I subtracted, they're opposite in sign, and I got 7, it's more positives than negatives, and that's what makes it a positive 7. Well, for the next problem, we're going to end up using the slope formula first, because that's what we need to do to find out what that slope is. The first problem here, number 7, they gave us the slope. Here they're not giving us the slope. So in order to find the slope, we need to do that y minus y1 over x minus x1. And then we can use a point and the slope to substitute into the equation. So the part people are going to mess up on is the substitution of the numbers. So let's make sure we get this right. Remember, we've got two y values. We've got the negative 2 and that positive 10. So we write those numbers exactly as they are. Negative 2 minus positive 10. Down below the fraction, we have the x values that we'll put. So remember, we started with this negative 2, so we're going to end up having to start with this 1 and then using the 3. And so it goes 1 minus 3. So we'll add the opposites. If we've got more than one negative, I like to do that. So I'll add the opposite here, and that gives me negative 12. Down below, 1 minus 3 makes negative 2. So now I've got two negatives, which will cancel out. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So 6, that's the number I'm going to end up using in that point slope formula, which I'll write down for you. Remember, it goes this way. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. It's the same formula I used right up here, and I wrote down initially. And so we're just going to take one of the points, and it doesn't matter which point you pick. So I'll choose to pick this one right here. The x value goes in for x1, y goes in for y1. So we'll go ahead and rewrite what we've got. Y minus negative 2 equals the slope, which is 6, times by x minus 1. So I can go ahead and use that distributive property. And also, anytime I see a minus negative, I like to make that a plus positive. So I'll multiply the 6 over that subtraction, and here's what's left. So go ahead and rewrite the problem over here. We've got y plus 2 equals 6x minus 6. And so once I have used the distributive property, I can go ahead and do some opposite operations to get y by itself. So I'll take 2 away from both sides, remembering that when I have the same sign, I'm going to end up having to add those two numbers together. So what I've got left is a y equals 6x minus 8. And that would be our answer. So the 8th problem on the test is one where you're going to have to find the slope first. So find the slope. Once you've got that, use one of the points. Could have used either point, and then substitute in the point-slope formula and solve. The last problem is going to be another word problem, and this time we have to figure out which is our x's and which is our y's. Well, this first sentence will tell us. The cost to stain a deck is means equals, is a linear function of the deck's area. What that tells us is that the deck's area, we could pick any number for area, and then we're going to end up doing some work. This function means that it's going to manipulate that area's number, and it's going to give us a cost, because it equals, it is the cost. So we consider the area the independent variable, and then the cost would be the dependent variable. And so anytime we have an independent variable, we consider that our x value, and our cost will be our y value. So on the problems that I give you, x is going to be on the left, y is going to be on the right, if you can't remember that. Well, anyhow, we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form to match this. Well, they're giving us more information than we need. See, we have different ordered pairs here. We've got 100, 150. We've got 250, 337.5. And we've got 400, 525. Well, we don't need 3 points to come up with the slope. All we need are 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out one of these points and not use it. And I'm only going to use the 2 left over. And then we're going to use the same procedure as we did on problem 8. We're going to find the slope first. So my slope is going to be the difference of the y values on top. So I'm going to take these two numbers, 150 and 525, and I'm going to put them on top. I'm going to even put the 525 first, minus 150. And then I'm going to take the x values. So my x values are the first number in the ordered pair. They're the 100 and the 400. And I'm going to write those on the bottom. Now, since I started with 525, I need to start with 400. So I'll put 400 minus 100. And so from there, we can go ahead and do that subtraction. And when we do that, the 525 minus the 150 gives us a 375. And when we do the subtraction here, we just get 300. So we need to reduce this fraction. And so whenever I reduce fractions and they have numbers like 75 or double zeros, 50 or 25, I can always divide by 25. So think of quarters. How many quarters makes $3.75? Well, 12 quarters makes $3 plus 75 cents. That's 3 quarters, so that would be 15 quarters altogether. How many quarters make $3? Well, that would just be 12 quarters. And that reduces the fraction very quickly. Well, we can always go ahead and do one more division problem. I can see that 3 goes into those two numbers, so I end up with 5/4. And that is my slope. And I'm going to use this number here and one of the points. I'm going to choose to use this point right here, 100, 150. And we're going to put those numbers into our point slope form. So we'll go ahead and rewrite it. We've got y minus 150 equals the slope. So 5/4 multiplied by x minus 100. And so from that point, you can go ahead and use that distributive property, multiply that 5/4 over that subtraction. And when I do that, I still have this y minus 150 and 5/4, and that equals 5/4 x. Now, again, off to the side, we might want to rewrite that 5/4 multiplied by negative 100 to see what's left over. When I do that reducing, 4 goes into 100 25 times. So negative 25 times by the positive 5 gives me negative 125. Think of quarters again as you're multiplying by 25. 5/4 equals $1.25. There it is, 125. Well, from that point, all I need to do is move that 150 back to the other side. So I'm going to add 150 to both sides. And so once I've done that, I can rewrite my answer. And it'll be in the slope-intercept form here. So y equals, and then I've got 5/4 x. And when I do that subtraction, I subtract because they're opposite in sign. I have more positives than negatives. And so I'll write the answer as y equals 5/4 x plus 25. Well, those are the last 3 problems on the test. Good luck tomorrow.